Now going over to the Culture Prod podcast, you have a Disney VP saying there's no way they're hiring white males, from execs to people on screen. And this is thanks to James O'Keefe going undercover with his team. Which, again, the one of the things where everyone's kind of had a suspicion of this in the past, and now you have it more coming to the light. Now, we'll look at both a couple of comments here, both on James O'Keefe as well as the reposted, because it really went viral on End Wokeness. He retweeted it for James O'Keefe. So James O'Keefe says, quote, "Senior VP at Walt Disney Company details discriminatory hiring practices," saying, quote, "No one else is going to tell you this, but they're not considering any white males for the job." This is, again, he interviewed, or rather his team interviewed Michael Giordano, who's a VP of Business Affairs. And yeah, I was going to say, the whole interview is about 20 minutes long, so I'm going to go ahead and actually just play a couple of the highlights, so to say. And again, so we'll go to End Wokeness. And End Wokeness, it got 53.7 million views, which again, End Wokeness usually gets between, I would say, 2 to 3 million views per video or per post. So talk about a statistical outlier, and as youth might say, going viral to say the least. And also a friendly reminder, if an attractive woman is really interested in what you do for a living, the odds are she's an undercover reporter. Because James O'Keefe, I mean, this keeps happening time and time again, especially if you work at a more controversial company. You should be on your toes. And I feel bad because, again, these guys are trying to find love, and not all these guys are bad. I know some of them are just in inopportune positions. And I mean, this guy actually talks about how his career has been limited because he's a white guy. Now, that being said, he still chooses to work at Disney. But from a certain perspective, it is a little sad to see this guy knowing his career and his opportunities are limited just because of his race. Regardless of his effort, there have been these barriers put in place. But without too much further ado, we'll go ahead and we'll tune in really quick here.
Certainly, there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
Now, I want to say this is a red flag for a date, or she shouldn't find love, but he goes on a date and he's not suited up. I don't want to say it's a red flag, but a little disappointing, obviously. And I don't see any flowers, so he didn't bring her flowers, and he didn't suit up. Not to say he's not a gentleman, but yeah, that girl, I'm surprised she sat down with him. Not to brag, but that's what I do time to time. Granted, might not be the most opportune or most strategic move since it hasn't worked lately, but nevertheless, back to him.
Spoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
How would they say it?
there's no way we're hiring a white male person. They'd say
Like straight to you, or okay?
They'd be very careful how they message that to agents.
According to these videotapes, Disney
See, there's James O'Keefe suiting up as all men should, and he actually went above and beyond and has a tie.
blatantly discriminates against white men in particular.
I think I'm sort of like well prepared for it. I'm well positioned for it. But as far as Disney's concerned, I'm a white male. That's not who they're looking to promote at the moment.
As a white guy, even Michael has his own doubts about the possibility for advancement for himself at Disney. In fact, Michael actually got to experience Disney's discrimination against white males firsthand.
I've been at the company 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in those divisions, and they're like, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for the job. They're just not. That's not what they want.
They even passed over a qualified half-black person for a promotion because they didn't look black enough.
We wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years.
I want to say South Park called it, but yet again, they called people out. And then South Park, of course, they also have a parody, really casting cartoonist on YouTube called Flash Gits. They did a very similar parody to this, where they had someone, the parody of the Disney boardroom. They said, you're not black enough, basically.
Years ago now, who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And there was a creative executive who was like, we're not, that's not what's wrong. They wanted somebody in meetings who would appear a certain way, and he wasn't gonna bring that to the meeting. I mean, it kind of feels like we're, at some point there's going to be a lawsuit. That's kind of how it feels, just because of,
And that is a lawyer talking. So how does Disney explain pushing these discriminatory practices? They use code words and buzzwords.
I'm guessing that there's acceptable code words and buzzwords that are used to explain what they're looking for. they might say something like, you know, look, we're not looking at like the usual suspects for this job. You know, so it's like not like a legally actionable thing, but everybody knows what it means. They, you know, for writers and actors, we hear all the time, like, you know, I'm looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity. I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are white.
Welcome to the Disney Tapes. My name is James at the Wellness Company.
Oh, where's the other highlight here? Oh, here he is.
And the diversity stuff when they're
MG.
You know, we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion
Yeah.
department who's very
Okay.
involved in like setting standards to make sure that our shows have diversity.
do you think like Bob has a say in the diversity stuff when they're casting people? Like
100%.
to what
He gives the directive. I mean,
for each show? For each
not that specifically, but like, you know, hey, I want every show to have substantial diversity.
Iger even has a chief diversity officer. Now, up until recently, that was Latondra Newton, who played a big part in dragging Disney full bore into its losing culture war by promoting discriminatory hiring practices and introducing gay, lesbian, transgender, non-binary, and other characters into Disney's children's animated series and films.
It's like an all across thing, like all of HR. There's like that one specific person that kind of like. Because I forgot
Good
the
question.
lady's name. She's the head of the.
Oh, I know you're talking about the head of the diversity.
It is interesting that, what was it, 6 or 7 months ago, all these DEI leaders or all these DEI executives at major companies, they're all mysteriously let go at the same time. This is interesting. And for those who are just tuning in and not seeing it, she is a African-American woman.
The African American lady, yeah. So is that like kind of her deciding?
She
that?
oversees a lot of that for sure. But it's pretty broad, I would say. There are other people in HR
Or did they keep her? Anyone think of Netflix?
who are also focused on that.
I would say a relatively large percentage of our top writer creators happen to be gay. And a lot of
just by happenstance?
I mean, like, just like if you say whatever, I don't know, whatever 10 or 15% of the population is gay, I would guess that 30 to 35% of our top writers are going to be, you know, gay. And so I think a lot of them lean into trans stories more than your average straight writer would.
And in an odd twist, you have to be a white Jewish guy to be considered for a C-suite job. More on that next week. But now, let's meet Los Angeles-based Michael Giordano, a white male and Walt Disney senior.
He's so he was on LinkedIn, of course, based in Los Angeles, he, him pronouns. Yeah, he's subsequently deleted his profile. And yeah, I can't help but think he's probably gonna have a talking to on his boss is probably gonna have a little sit down with him. And again, he's been there for 11 years. And again, he's a senior VP and team lead business affairs. Says 20th Television.
Vice President of Business Affairs.
I do like business affairs, so like negotiations for television.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. That's really
So
cool.
not really like on the creative side. You know, so it's a lot of it is, you know, like knowing like the guild agreements and the union agreements and everything, like make offers for the writers and the actors who are going to be out working on the show and the producers and the directors and try to like, you know, get to a place where we can close a deal with them, help the production to budget. And so much of my job is just the negotiating, really. And then other people are doing kind of the drafting of the contracts. So
I mean, if he's really good at negotiating, he's really good at business, and yet he doesn't see someone playing him as a chump with his fake date. Which, again, I know a lot of people aren't on their toes and they're going on to these dates, but still, you work at Disney, one of the most high-profile companies on the planet in history. They've done a lot of controversial things, especially the last 5-10 years. It should enter in the realm of possibility in your head, I would think.
you know,
Oh wow. So yeah, what's the negotiating like?
I'm like sitting down trying to figure out, okay, you know, what are we gonna pay this actor for this role? What do we think they want? What, you know?
Oh wow.
Kind of strategize that. Everything from how you produce a show, how you distribute a show, how you exhibit a show, how you market a show. Things like that, all of the negotiations and deal making that like related to it.
Yeah.
One, well, actually two of our brave undercover journalist and American Swiper investigative reporters met Michael on the dating app Hinge. And aside from this story, which focused on
Let's see. This might be mildly entertaining. Is simple pleasures are morning workouts, which, that's a good one. I actually do that myself. Protein smoothies, pretty good. Irreverent humor, I don't know. Beach vibes, 80s music. What? I never actually seen someone who publicly says they like 80s music. He does like Italian food. And of course, he's a Harvard Law. He says on his Hinge profile he works at Disney. He's making it so easy for these malicious actors, or in this case, these undercover investigative reporters. And granted, maybe I'm more paranoid than the average person because I work in cybersecurity. That's a big component of what my company does. But geez Louise.
on Disney's overt discrimination against white men. You'll see later on in this report, and it'll be quite entertaining.
Oh, this is a big red flag. The guy has a profile picture of himself with a cat. That's ridiculous. A man with a cat. Everyone knows if you're a guy, you get a dog. It's man's best friend. Or if you're like me and you rent, you don't own a house, well, then you just get a pet rock. Which, great listeners, and they always, if you tell that pet rock to stay, they stay. But even then, I'm not taking a picture of myself, my pet rock, for dating apps. Although, but I partially digress.
Michael.
Wait, is that not cultural appropriation? There's a picture of him with a cowboy hat. Again, he is liberal, living in California. I'm not sure. Pretty sure he's the type of guy who believes in cancellation.
Turns out to be quite the ladies' man.
How long have you been on dating out?
Not very long. 2.5.
Have you been going out with
Not a lot. Not a lot.
anything worth?
You know what's funny? No.
Let's dig right into Disney's blatant practices of discrimination. If you're wondering how Disney as a company looks at race, gender, and discrimination in the hiring process, about how they recruit and hire talent, look no further.
I think there are times when it's so front and center. It's great because that's the focus. We have so many shows where we're casting and we're we're not even going to see certain people for it because we need that particular role to
So is it intentional that they want they only look for diverse candidates for certain roles?
Yeah. I think there's certainly a belief that it's just good for society and they know. But there's also a belief that we're going to make more money if we appeal to a wider variety of people.
This guy should do stand-up comedy. Because that is a theory, yes, but in practice, they are losing money. Again, Disney lost about $2 billion in media in 2023 when they started a lot of this stuff. Historically speaking, they used to print money for a living, basically, making content that everyone in America loved. And yet now they've destroyed their brand so much. They lost money on an Indiana Jones film. That was, of course, partially thanks to the ineptitudes of Kathleen Kennedy. And then with Star Wars, they're losing money as well. So yeah, I'm not sure that justification of saying they're doing it to try to make more money and they think I don't think that holds any water.
And it's a good thing. We have shareholders too, and so diversity helps with that.
Diversity helps with financial incentive.
Yeah.
So is it do you think it's more so on that side, or using any good prices gets put to use,
Disney would
or
do it regardless? I think that Disney would do it regardless, but I think that there are even conservative people who may not want to lean into it can easily make the argument that we make more money when we appeal to a wider variety of people, and that means diversity.
Yeah.
There's a real focus on every show. And I'm sure the movies too, though I don't deal with that side of it. So, just making sure that the writer's room has a real, diversity, not just gender or sexual orientation and ethnicity, but making sure that they're hiring some writers who may have certain disabilities where they wouldn't have been hired before. So there's a really broad look whenever we're doing that to make sure that everybody gets.
So they talk a big game about DEI, but do they actually do it? Apparently so. They even passed over a qualified half-black person for a promotion because they didn't look black enough.
Yeah.
We had a situation where we wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now, who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And there was a creative executive who was like, "We're not that's not what's wrong."
They wanted the full.
They wanted somebody in meetings who would appear a certain way, and he wasn't gonna bring that to the meeting.
And so this is on the
This was on the
corporate side, the business side.
Never understood that.
Which to me, that's also where a big point of controversy is, because historically speaking, there are movies where you'll cast someone based on the race because if it's a historical film, or because the film takes place in a place as like England. Like, it makes sense for Harry Potter. I mean, for that film, it makes sense that most of the characters were British. Which probably, I mean, even with magic, I don't know if they can make food taste good in that universe. But nevertheless, you actually see it where the big controversies is when they take someone who's historically, like Romeo and Juliet. And recently, again, I don't think that's a Disney property, but they're making the main actress of the film African American. That's been the more trend that we've seen. It's not usually, it used to be historical reasons, but now they've been switching it. And the big point of controversy, of course, is when it's happening in corporate America, where, again, if you're a prudent business owner, your leading company, you'd want to take every resume possible to get the largest sample size and then choose the best, as they used to say, choose the best man for the job based on their qualifications.
So 'cause I know a lot of, I have a lot of black friends who are not as dark as So do they care about that, or it's the ethnicity actually?
They say they don't care about it, but the truth is, to some extent, they do. If you're mixed, but you don't look black at all, which sometimes happens,
Yeah.
then they're like, "Oh, I'm not so sure." But if you're mixed and you can tell somebody's part black, but they're not that black, so okay, that was still, it's crazy.
But apparently Meghan Markle is black enough.
I didn't know that she was until years later. I remember she was in Suits, and apparently she is as unbearable in the show as she is in real life. Oh, let's go. Where is it? 1719 is the next step I want to go over to. Oh. There we go.
That's 17% of our executives at this level identify as XYZ. 40% of our executives at this level identify as, they have goals that they're trying to hit. They want a certain percentage of diversity here, a certain percentage of diversity there.
But are these these are open goals? Because you're saying they can't say it in such specific terms. So are they open goals?
They are open goals at a senior enough level.
So how does Disney explain pushing these discriminatory practices to the people that they work with? Well, according to Michael Giordano, it seems like it's a sensitive issue, and they use code words and buzzwords.
I'm guessing that there is acceptable code words and buzzwords that are used to explain what they're looking for. They might say something like, look, we're not looking at the usual suspects for this job. So it's not a legally actionable thing, but everybody knows what it means.
According to Michael, even Disney's human resources agencies are on board with these practices. Hi, guys, do you know what the code words are for the discriminatory hiring practices? Do you work in HR? No?
Which, again, I mean, HR is supposed to legally protect the company. And in this case, they're doing quite the opposite. They're embracing policies that will certainly ensure that the company is sued, as well as even more boycotted than they already were, perhaps, for their... People are already boycotting the company for their ineptitudes with making mediocre films and destroying the legacy of Star Wars. But back to the words much nicer than mine.
You familiar with the buzzwords? They don't know what I'm talking about now.
That's a little mic issue.
but they will soon.
They, for writers and actors, we'll hear all the time, like, I'm looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity. I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are like, so there's definitely that focus.
Disney even has an internal organization such as 20th Action Group, whose sole purpose is to promote discriminatory DEI hiring practices and to push bizarre characters and storylines on children. The question is, can the people just come to work, make their cartoons, and do the discrimination elsewhere? But apparently not on CEO Bob Iger's watch. So how is prioritizing these DEI practices over hiring merit-based talent worked out for Disney shareholders, you might ask? Well, over the past 5 years, the S&P index is up over 88%, and Disney is down almost 30%, making that once golden brand one of Wall Street's biggest disappointments. Yes, the disaster that Disney has become is probably the most glaring example of what happens when you prioritize DEI over talent content creators and executives who truly know how to build value. So will Disney turn it all around and hire or promote based upon merit? We shall see. This is just part one. We got another tape coming out next week. This is a multiple part series. I spoke with Michael Giordano. You'll see that soon.
Are you guys on a date?
We are.
You have nothing to say?
I haven't seen you in.
Do you work for Disney?
I'm not gonna.
Is this you right here?
Ooh. Oh, of course. Oh, I don't want to say he deserves it, but look at this guy in this confrontation. He's wearing a polo. A black polo with only, I think, 2 buttons. He's on a date in a polo? Jesus Louise. Yeah. And it went viral. Again, I got 53.7 million views on End Wokeness's account on X Twitter. One of the first comments comes from Paul Zupa saying, quote, prosecute Disney. There's no way to end racist, sexist companies will change unless we legally force them to. Either Disney drops DEI or they go out of business, getting 8.7 thousand likes. Scrolling down more and more. Planet of Memes responds in meme forms. Again, A+ marketing today. It's usually about a 50-50 shot between them doing text or that simply a meme. Although, I don't know if it's technically a meme. It's simply the Disney, the Disney iconic castle with the logo has been changed from Disney to Woke Disney. Got 1.3 thousand likes. Oh, okay, 50-50% for today for Planet of Memes. They also responded in text form saying, if not boycotting Disney, you probably should be getting 2.9 thousand likes. We found our favorite human. Well, not really. He's just a leftist that I follow on social media because I appreciate different contrarian statements and echo chambers can get a little bit boring. Now, Mr. Human, which I don't say it's a lame name, but pretty pathetic. It's almost as weird as something like topping as a name. Oh, wait. I partially digress. Again, this alleged human who has a hippie sign, American flag, Ukrainian flag, and blue wave logo or emoji in his profile. And he says, quote, so this Michael Giordano, a young white man who is already a senior VP at Disney, is claiming Disney, there's no way you're hiring white males, is a joke. Which, I don't know if he's really that young. But nevertheless, he's already articulated how his career has been specifically halted because of that. And he's given many other examples. Now, this Mr. Human says, quote, in 2021, workforce diversity data reveals 50.9% of U.S. employees were white, while 46.3% of people of color, 27% Hispanic, 8.26% Black, 7.4% Asian. At executive level, representation of people of color plummets 25%, with 73.3% of execs being white, according to the National Equity Atlas. People of color constitute 39% of prime working age population, 25 to 64, and 47% of the emerging workforce, 18 to 24 in the U.S. The Bureau of Labor Statistics from 2022 indicates the overall U.S. labor force is 77% white, 13% Black, 7% Asian. If I were Disney, I would take the James O'Keefe Media Group and Unicor for defamation over this job hit. Now, granted, I think it's mostly mentally vacuous, and yeah, let's just say those statistics. Let's see, 50%. Let's see. I got 219 likes. However, the response was, that's you. Disney is going to lose big time if data supports what's claimed. I bet it does. Being 26%. And Jan Brewer says he's referring to the current hiring practices, not the past. Let's see here. Oh, this is a funny response. Cosmic says, Just one more flag icon on your Twitter handle, and you may just solve world peace. Getting 11 likes. But again, 219 people did appreciate this alleged human. I don't know, his name is human. That's a little, as a youth might say, sus, thanks to the Urban Dictionary. I know what that means now. Yeah. Or is he just a robot? Nevertheless, Wall Street Apes says white people are the only race that can legally be discriminated against in America, and it's celebrated too. The people who run the world are sick and twisted pieces of crap. Getting 10,000 likes. Define Els says none of James O'Keefe's revelations seems to surprise me. Getting 889 likes. Wow. Risky Business says this might be helpful. Instructions for how to cancel your Disney Plus subscription. 1. Sign into your Disney account on your mobile or computer browser. 2. Click the profile, then account. 3. Select your subscription under subscription selection. 4. Tap or click cancel subscription. 5. Provide a reason for cancellation and complete the process. That got 5.1 thousand likes. It would be a shame if everyone were just cancel their Disney subscription and say this is why. Or just say your hiring practices are morally vacuous and evil. Going down more and more. Livercat Media TM says if they think they can stay profitable and in business strictly off of BIPOC folks, then I say we teach them a lesson they never forget. Especially for a white family, it says white people, the only race you can legally discriminate against. That got 4.3 thousand likes. Now, I mean, that being said, when you look at the people who do support these policies at Disney, a lot of them are liberal, educated white gals, and a lot of them are heads of households where they have a lot of purchasing power. So, I mean, how much of an impact, how much of a boycott will there really be? Because again, there are millions of Americans who do support this current hiring and promotion tactic used by Disney. So, I mean, I don't think this is going to help their stock. I don't think this is going to increase their sales necessarily. But it would be interesting to see like how many people already who find Disney deplorable, how many of them have already canceled their subscription years ago because of the piss poor content they've been putting out. Well, not just poor content, but also controversial content, and most people would say mentally vacuous and morally disgusting content. Yeah, Gerald TM said, it's time to make Disney pay the price of their decision to be discriminatory towards white men. I got 1,000 likes. Let's see here. Livercat Media TM says, hey Disney, do you know? And it's a picture of a beautiful blonde gal with blue eyes, with and she's white, and the screen says, or the text says it's okay to be white. They got 5.5 thousand likes. Truth Justice says Disney employee charged with 540 counts of try to keep this moderately family friendly, inappropriate child pictures from newborns to 8 years old. He had photographs and videos of babies being tied up and taken advantage. They were tied up, and yeah. Now, so I'm thinking that person, if they have it in Florida, it looks like this is the Florida sheriff talking about it. That was reposted by Truth Justice. Hopefully they are legally prosecuted to no longer be alive, because, yeah, there's no reason, in my opinion, for those people to exist. Let's see, scrolling down more and more. Robert C. Fair says, how is it not illegal in America? What happened to judging people on merit and not race? What was the civil rights movement and all that stuff about equality? Just Marxist propaganda. Anti-white racism is not only racist, but it will result in the collapse of civilization. Got 4.4 thousand likes, which, yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. would have a broken heart if he were to come alive, or if he were to look at society right now. Again, he wanted all men to be created equal. He didn't want anyone to think about race. It should have just been about helping each other, doing the best you can, getting promoted based on merit. That was Dr. King's dream. And it's sad how many people just forget that. Do a couple more comments here. See if there's any contrarian statements. I haven't seen any thus far. Merrick Garland press release parody account says done with you Disney, and it has a little acronym for DEI, and it says diversity, inclusion, equity. It says diversity means fewer white people. Inclusion means exclusion of white people. Equity means stealing from the white people. 914 likes. Let's see here. Don't see any contrarian statements. And again, there are millions of people who think this is a good idea. I mean, I wonder how many people, again, Disney's been going downhill for quite some time. How many of those people already canceled their Disney subscriptions? I mean, how many people will not visit the parks because of this? And then will there be actual lawsuits against Disney? I mean, in theory, the federal government should go after them for this illegal hiring practice. They've done it with other companies. But I can't but think, given the federal government right now, I don't think there's much of an appetite to go after Disney. But let me know in the comments. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.